Some parted with 2,000 shillings for deals worth 170 million Kenya shillings. So another question even from this particular regard as to how, even if they did get this procurement in terms of the emergency state of what was going on, why didn't they pay the requisite dues to the government? That story can be found on page 8 of Your People Daily this morning. Let's get to the top of that right now. When we talk about COVID billionaires, let's cross the region and go to Tanzania. VP's death opens lid on corona in Tanzania. The popular 77-year-old Zanzibari politician Hamad had been receiving treatment at Muhimbili National Hospital in Dar es Salaam a few weeks after infection. This story is on page 15 of Your People Daily. And of course, the big question right there, because the president of Tanzania has been very adamant on the absence of coronavirus in that particular country. But this now, as they say in the People Daily, opening the lid and just giving some faces to the statistics that we might see coming from that particular region. And you can find this story again on page 15 of Your PD. Right at the top right corner of Your PD, Kipsang demoted in latest reshuffle. As you can see right there, this story on page 14, a bit of reshuffle going on in the executive, of course, from CASs to principal secretaries as well. You can find the story on page 14 of Your People Daily. And in case you don't have Your PD, you can get it straight to your phone. The number that you dial is *550 *4#, and you get it for only 10 shillings. No need for data, no need for an app, and it's brought to you by the People Daily and Safaricom. That's what you have on the front page of the Daily Nation now. Let's scroll down right there. Uhuru rewards Raila and Kalonzo. As you can see right there, President Kenyatta yesterday appointed allies of ODM leader Raila Odinga and Wiper chief Kalonzo Musyoka to government as he sought to stamp his authority as well as see through the implementation of his legacy projects before his final term ends next year. While some officials were promoted or demoted, the fate of others is yet to be known. Let's scroll further down. As you can see right there, some new faces are coming in. Mr. David Osiani, CAS Ministry of Industrialization. He serves in the Chemelil Sugar Board, and as they say that right there, is a Raila ally. Mr. Lawrence Angolo Omunaka coming in as well, CAS Ministry of Agriculture. Dr. Sarah Ruto, CAS Ministry of Education. Mr. Zachary Ayeko, CAS Ministry of Energy. And Mr. Jackson Musyoka Kala, Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, serving as the CAS right there. As you can see right there, those who have been moved and those whose fate is unknown, from Dr. Belio Kipsang, Professor Japhet Micheni, Ms. Rachel Shabesh as well. Ms. Winnie Gushu moved from CAS State Law to CAS Interior and Coordination of National Government, and Mr. Nelson Gashuhe as well, who was serving at the National Treasury as CAS, but his fate on this particular one still to be known. You can find the details of that particular story in your copy of your Daily Nation. Still in the Daily Nation, Yatani bid to raise debt ceiling to above 9 trillion shillings. The National Treasury has set in motion plans to increase the debt ceiling once again so that it can borrow billions it needs to finance the new financial year that starts in June 2021. The details of that and the numbers behind that can be found on page 10 of your Daily Nation this morning, with all of the details right there. Let's scroll right to the top. Former EACC boss dragged into KEMSA COVID billionaires scam. MP Samuel Halake Wako, following accusations that he helped a firm to secure 347 million shillings a bank loan to buy N95 masks. Now, this story can be found on the back page of your Daily Nation, with all the intrigues of what has been happening so far in terms of these particular hearings. You can get that right there. That's what you have on your Standards front page. Let's get to the headline. Raila defends quote-unquote hustler talk. He says, give the devil his due. ODM chief joins other leaders opposed to criminalization of the hustler versus dynasty narrative, spearheaded by politicians led by Deputy President William Ruto. You can find this story on page 8 with all the details of that therein. Also, on the extreme right there, I walked into KEMSA and out with a 347 million shilling deal. This is the second type of scenario we've had where somebody walked into this particular authority and walked out with a multi-million Kenya shilling deal during COVID. You can get the details of that particular story right there. A woman with no credentials or capacity to supply this medical equipment walked in and walked out with that particular tender. That story is on page 2 of your Standard. Also in your Standard, President Joho dreams triggers, of course, if President Joho becomes president, this dream is triggering Coast Unity talk as governor begins campaign for presidential run in 2022. The region is yet to find common ground on its political direction in a post-Uhuru regime. That is on page 5 of your Standard, with the political landscape right at the coast and how it is stacking up. You can get all the details of that right there. Let's see what the Star has for us this morning. Separate Raila and BBI, Kibicho urges Mount Kenya. Says Odinga won't automatically be president if bill is passed. The big picture is what they're trying to focus on right now. Says, don't let the house burn while they're chasing a rat. That's a quote from what had been said yesterday as far as this imploring was concerned. And this particular story is on page 6 of your Daily Nation. You can get all the details of that right there. And finally, as always, look at your Business Daily. 3 stocks making NSE investors wealthy. EABL, Safaricom and BAT Kenya account for 90% of the rise in investor wealth since January. You can find this on page 4 of your Business Daily. And even as it stands, of course, that speaks to the state of the NSE in terms of it being very lopsided in terms of the counters that are moving the market, so to speak. And that story can be found on page 4 of your Business Daily. So that's where it stands at this particular point as far as your dailies are concerned. But right now, front and center, it's all about the hustler and the spirit and the law as far as this is concerned. Now, yesterday, ODM leader Raila Odinga thrashed out a proposal to criminalize the use of the hustler versus the dynasty narrative. Odinga says that whereas the narrative is dangerous, criminalizing the narrative will return Kenya to the dark days. But as Martin Opio reported, Deputy President William Ruto, in a quick rejoinder to Odinga's statement, said the narrative had been taken out of context.
The political scene has been awash with the political rhetorics of hustler versus dynasties that has since set emotions and tongues wagging. Those in support are claiming that their aim is to bridge the long existing gaps between the poor and the rich, whereas their rivals in the political scene are basing their arguments on class war bases. In this regard, a bill crafted by lawmaker Paul Koinange, the chair of the Parliament National Security Committee, seeks to criminalize the use of the narrative. The bill proposes stringent measures to be taken to those found culpable of the use of the phrase that includes a 5-year jail term and disqualification from holding a public office. In a rare move, ODM leader Raila Odinga in a statement says the bill would return the country back to the retrogressive days where freedom of speech was non-existent. Odinga says he strongly appeals to members of parliament to drop any attempts to legislate against this otherwise deadly slogan and allow Deputy President to continue with his campaigns without being inhibited. President Kenyatta is among those that have cautioned the use of the slogan as it propagates divisive politics, with his most recent rebuttal of the narrative evoking a nationwide conversation.
Wale ambao waliongea kama unachoka na familia hii, unachoka na familia hii, sasa ni nafasi sijui ya nani. Basi kama hiyo ndiyo thinking ama logic, hata mimi naweza nisimame hapa basi niseme kuna jamii tu mbili za Kenya ambazo zimetawala, labda ni nafasi ya jamii nyingine pia kutawala.
Raila, on the other hand, says it should be the duty of all Kenyans who feel angered with the narrative to educate Kenyans on the need to stay off the dynasty and hustler conversation, which he likened to the 1993 era when the Nazi Party profiled German society on the lines of race, social classes and tribe. Deputy President William Ruto, while agreeing to Odinga's statement, says Odinga has misunderstood the hustler narrative and will since embark on educating Kenyans on the need to have the hustler narrative understood. For Kenya, use of slogans are not a new thing, as politicians would most often than not use slogans that tend to resonate with the country's electorate in a bid to woo them to support their agenda by voting them in. This, in most instances, given Kenya's political landscape that is mostly campaigned on tribal alignments, ends up being catastrophic. Slogans such as 42 versus 1 would end up becoming an argumentative point when the political class faced the International Criminal Court following the much divisive 2007 election. Given the political temperatures ahead of the much-touted BBI referendum and the coming 2022 general election, ODM leader Raila Odinga is asking Kenyans to see through what he calls divisive and potentially deadly rhetoric that attacks on fellow Kenyans and reject it with finality. Martin Opio, K24 TV.
Of course, that also sets the stage for the discussion today. It's all about the hustler, the spirit and the law behind all of this. In studio, it's a Thursday, so you know he'll be walking in with his Thursday swagger. Gabi Ingram Muthuma, governance expert. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff Mote. How are you doing?
Very well. Welcome to the show.
Excellent. Asante sana.
Asante sana for making
Today I have 4 newspapers, and let me tell you, it is actually, you have some great encouraging stories. I like some of the people that the president has actually taken, the new CSs. One, we can actually identify a very good friend, David Osiani. Kudos, and we wish him all the best. Who, there are some, shifts here and there, but at the end of the day, I think it's for the good and the better of how the government will run. And I hope that they'll get their skin in the game and be able to assist the president in delivering on his core mandate.
Right. It's interesting because even before I get to Millie on this, even as you talk about these particular appointments, at this particular point in time, he's really on his last, not even his last lap, like the last 100 meters. Changing the squad of his team right now. By the time Osiani and Co get the feel of the office, get to know how red tape and bureaucracy works, will we have any time left?
Well, first of all, I think the home stretch really matters. Jeff, let me tell you something. How you finish the race is as important as how you begin and how you push through. The reason being, what really matters is how you finish. I have seen the slogan of finishing strong. People actually are advocating this for the president to finish strong. And let me tell you, there is nothing as fulfilling as finishing strong in any sphere, whether it's your career or whether it's, in an administration like the president is having. Finishing strong is always identified with a hallmark that you knew what you were doing and you had your ducks swimming in a row. So finishing strong is as heavy as anything. Tell you what, imagine if Eliud came short by 10 seconds. What would have happened to history? History would have actually been written by somebody else. So it really matters that when he was coming to the finishing line, he had that boost to finish strong. Our marathoners, Kenya being a country of great marathoners and great runners, when it comes to the finishing line, when it comes to the last bit of meters, that is when they sprint. And you know what? It is how history remembers them. Even now, the president will be remembered by how he finished strong. Talking about the person of David Osiani, remember, we've been with him all along, and we know how the man knows how government works. I mean, he's been with us in commentary for the longest. And not only that, he was, on the board of Chemel and Sugar. So he understands one or two things. So in industrialization, I think, I know where he's gone. I think he'll bring a sober mind in it. I think he's somebody who has, his weight well structured in matters governance and policy. And you know what? That's why I'm saying I wish him all the best. Is it something we've not seen in the past where the president is rearranging his team towards the end of his term? I think this is not the first time he's doing it. If we are to consider him as a president, I think also, Kibaki did that. So it is a good thing when you see when you see this particular department is faltering behind, or you need a new energy injected in. It is not something that's out of the blues. So on this one, I think it is a good move, and I hope the guys who are coming in will bring in the required energy to ensure that the president is able to finish strong.
Millie Luanga, good morning and welcome to the show. How are you?
Good morning.
Morning, karibu sana. Welcome to the show. Of course, I want to pick it up from you from where Gabi has left it. Is it a case of the president finishing strong administratively in terms of the legacy that has been left, or finishing strong politically because of the alliances that he needs to put together moving forward? Look at the front page of the Daily Nation. They're calling it rewards to Raila and Kalonzo. So is this a political move or an administrative move?
Well, I think that it's a lot of administrative political. And I say this because remember when the CAS positions were first created, there was a lot of question as to whether these were constitutionally or legally right positions to even have in the first place. And subsequently, we have seen that some of the CASs You can say Gucci, for example, they've carved a niche for themselves and clearly identified what work they are expected to do. And we have seen that, like the PSs, the CASs have actually been workhorses. They are less political than the CSs. So I think that this reshufflement, just like Gabriel says, is something that is going to strengthen the administrative arm of the Jubilee government now. It seems to be a clear indication of the fact that it's all systems go insofar as work is concerned. And there seems to be a clear intention to put persons in places where they're going to be able to work. But it is also a good thing that the partnerships that the president has been forging in the recent past are seen to be included in work, that's increasing workload. And I think that that's a good thing, because the talk as to the extent to which Jubilee has failed to realize its manifesto, and the benefit or the role that these other friends that the president brought into the Jubilee fold have played will be catered for, because if the president says he has been let down by his deputy, who picked the button and instead of running the right direction, turned to run backwards, then he brought into the fold, additional people who now he's also going to use their influence to be able to have a strong administrative wing. And that will show that who is interested in delivering the you look at it both ways, it's a brilliant move to have made at this particular time. And I just hope that the people who have been put in that place will also work and realize that Kenyans really don't want too much politicking right now, but want delivery.
Okay, very quickly, even before we move on to the main stage of our conversation in terms of, the hustler, the spirit, and the law, quick rejoinder right there, and quick point of note, rather. Oliver Karori was supposed to be on the show today, woke up feeling slightly under the weather. That is why we don't have him on today's panel. But even as we move this forward, Gabi, we're looking at a situation where some people are saying, okay, fine, we've seen even before this cabinet reshuffle, various CASs, various PSs had been deployed to monitor various projects, where they are and how fast they can be completed. And some people are saying, wait a minute, this should have been done a very long time ago. Why are we doing this now? If you couldn't have finished this in 3 years of your administration, you're going to get it done in 1 year now because you sent all your CSs and PSs to look at the stadia and dams and all that's going on around the country.
By the way, Jeff, that's a very good thing. I still think it's a very good thing because, I was able to go around in my usual mannerism of wanting to see what the government is doing. And it's a good thing. And I encourage people, just don't sit back. When you have some free time, you can either go online or, go to your area of representation, see what the government is doing, whether it's the national government or the county government, trying to understand what is it in this region that is growing in matters development? What is the national government doing? What is the county government doing? And that way you will be able to understand the developments within your locale. Now, is this something that is really abnormal? No, I don't think so. Because the president himself has said it not once or twice that he took a very huge mantle to institute grand development. Did we see it? Of course. Even from his first term, the SGR, me and you, Jeff, sometimes we were asking ourselves, when will this great project be finished? But in record time, it was able to be delivered. So as the president nears his last term of office, he wants to see, including most of his legacy projects are done and completed before he leaves. In Kisii, during the burial of the late former minister, Simeon Nyachai, what did the president do? You saw. He actually talked about the stadium,
and the sports academy.
And the sports academy. So when the president issues that directive, and you fully well realize that it must be done within that particular time, who else is to run on the ground to ensure that all parts are moving than his CSs. And the one thing I'm liking about the CSs moving around to inspect these projects is because they get the first-hand information. And not only the first-hand information, key to which is what other issues that could be detrimental to that particular project are on the ground. Once they get to know this issue, those major issues are brought back to cabinet and they are discussed at a record time. And guess what? Solutions are found. By the way, this marination of you are in the Ministry of Sports, say, all right? Your counterpart is in another ministry, but you are shafted around to ensure that this minister or this cabinet secretary goes to your field and this other one goes to your field. This is to say, or to bring to the fore, areas of concern that may be going on, but the rest of your colleagues do not know. And they are able to bring all these issues, major issues, to the fore and discuss them as cabinet. Let me tell you, it is a very good way. I wish we had thought of something like this at the beginning of the Jubilee time, because that would have realized many projects and they would have moved quite fast.
Okay, I want to get to Millie on this because it seems like we might even take our first break and then after the break talk about, the hustler, the spirit and the law of this. Because Millie, as Gabriel sounds very bullish about this is the move that should have been made. The CSs should have gone around doing this and the PSs as well. We say this forgetting that we have a whole delivery unit and the Tony Blair Institute, whose very mandate is what the CSs are doing now. Are we saying they failed in terms of monitoring and evaluation? Because it seems like there's a double role being played by the same organizations right now. The CSs are monitoring what the PDU is monitoring at the same time. Where are we going wrong?
Well, I think that it's not been a secret that the president has been frustrated by the ability of the executive through the CSs to deliver. And I think that right from before, we said it before we went into the general elections in 2017, there had been talk that he needed to send some people home. And analyses were done around the country as to who was performing and who was not performing. And we know also that a number of units that have been, or organs that have been established that are meant to work, for example, have not been working. We saw the other day the media highlighting the meeting that the deputy president had with the governors and saying that, well, here he is now passing on more money to the counties and he's been saying something different. And I saw a number of Kenyans comment and wonder that this organ, does it continue to work? People only remember once in a long time back when all the governors were meeting with the president and there was hula baloo about it, and people are not sure that these organs, the meeting between the national and the county governments have been happening. So in short, what we're seeing is some of the organs, a number of the organs have not been working, and that is why there's been a sense of duplication. But I think on the other hand, we have also failed to grab the opportunities we've been given. The president started off very well in 2013 and set up a committee under Abdikadir that did an analysis of a number of institutions and tried to make suggestions as to how these processes could streamline. Through the Office of the Auditor General, an economic audit of the Constitution was conducted to show where was the shortfall and what did we need to merge in order to make this very great product that we had much more useful to Kenyans. But again, after those two reports came from the Abdikadir team and from the Office of the Auditor General, we have not seen the recommendation being taken up. That is why you still see us having such questions that we are having now.
Okay, that will also bring us to our first break right here on the show as well, even as we move it forward. A couple of tweets coming in. Let me look at that even as we get there. Let's see what we have as of now. Let me have this up. Let me look at that. Okay, there we have it. Victor V1, the hustle has to continue. They can't criminalize the spirit of us Kenyans. Tunataka tu mboga kwa meza. Okay, fine, I hear about that. We'll be talking about that after the break as well. Ashley Wangohe is saying, every single morning the youth wake up looking for jobs and the jobs can't be found. hiyo ni shida yetu ama ya serikali? Hiyo ndio swali. Okay, I hear you on that, and that's mainstay of the conversation after the break right here on KTT4 this morning. You can chime in on the conversation as well. Get me at I am Jeff Mote or KTT4 TV. After the break, we talk about the hustler, the spirit, and the law. Don't go too far.